All right, so welcome to the Stakeholder Forum of the European Data Space for Smart Communities. Today we will be talking about the journey, the application journey, so how it will look like. For just housekeeping, please remain muted when you are not talking. When you are talking, please unmute yourself. And also, we will be using Miro today to register your questions. We will share the link with you all. Um, okay, and if you have any problems with the Miro please let us know. And then we are here to help you. We can also just take notes for you, so it's not a big problem. So the application journey, this is what we will be talking about. This is just an overview for you all, what you can expect to hear about today. Basically, you will submit an application. We will discuss what this entails. Then we will do an eligibility check. This will be done by the DS4SCCC colleagues. And once it's been deemed that you are indeed eligible, then your application will be passed on to the expert jury, where they will conduct a peer review process to ensure that you will actually get a good review. And then the winning and also non-winning consortia will be notified with feedback, and you will also receive a survey to actually give us feedback, because as you know there will be more rounds of open calls, and this will help us actually perfect or improve the process itself. But the winning consortia itself will have to actually go through a financial and legal scrutiny, so whatever you stated in your proposal actually will be examined. So we advise that you also are prepared already in your proposal time. And finally, once that's done, the negotiation and contract signing will happen. So how will today look like? Well, that screenshot does not look good on the screen, but we will first have an introduction and a information session by the coordination of the project, so by Elizabeth. And then we will go through the parts of the application process. So first we will look on the eligibility check. How can you know that you are actually eligible, that your application is eligible? Then we will move on to the application form itself. So when you submit your application, what it actually has to have. And finally, we will look at the evaluation process itself, how you will be evaluated, what kind of criteria you will have to comply with. As said, there will be always a presentation accompanied with the Miro board exercise. Essentially, on the Miro board, you will see the content that we present, and we will invite you to, of course, share your questions there as well. But also, you can always, after the presentation, unmute yourself and share your questions with us. And just a little announcement. As part of the Living in EU project, we at OASC are conducting a interview process, and we would like to invite those who have experience in writing tenders and procurements for technologies for governments to contact us, so that we can have a very brief chat with you, about 20-30 minutes. This will be with my colleague Timo. This would actually feed into the work of Living in the EU, and will be also published on the website of Living in the EU. With that, I would like to give the word to my colleague Elizabeth.
Thank you, Sophie. So yes, I'll just share my screen. Okay. So you see the presentation mode? Sorry?
Please. Can you switch the display?
Yes.
Thank you. Perfect. Perfect.
So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining this morning. Today, luckily, I have an update on the open call timeline. As you all know, we have been postponing the timeline a little bit due to various reasons that I will mention in just a moment. So today is a good day. We have some good news. So let's get to it. I just wanted to start with this quote that we met during the Data Spaces Symposium that was held in Frankfurt last month. And on the main stage, I don't remember if it was during the presentation of their blueprint, the Data Spaces Support Center version 1.0. But anyway, someone made this quote that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And I felt very drawn to it because that is very much what kind of happened to us, and I guess happens to everyone every once in a while. The reason why this is very compelling is that the Digital Europe program, let's say that's Mike Tyson, is very complex. And we want to be sure that we get everything right. And this includes in terms of all legal aspects, state aid rules, you name it. So we've been working really hard behind the scenes, and you will see the results today. We have almost everything ready, but of course we need to be aligned with the Commission also. So I would like to thank the consortium and the Commission and all of you guys for staying with us, for being patient, and let's get right to the updated timeline. So we will stick to still having 3 rounds of open calls. The new thing is that they will remain open for 3 months, all of them. And the best way to stay tuned is to find the information on our website, and the calls will also be open on the Funding and Tenders portal and on the websites of the partners in the consortium, etc. But the first round of calls is expected to open in June, so before the summer holidays, during the summer holidays, and the second round in September, and the third round in December. So the calls will stretch all the way to February next year, actually, because there will be no breaks in between the 3 rounds of calls. What you need to notice also is the duration of the pilots. So for the first and the second round, the maximum duration of pilots will be now up to 18 months. And for the third round, maximum 16 months, because we need to finish before the entire project finishes. So to allow time to evaluate and all things necessary. But this is also very good news. So now it's possible to have a little bit more time to execute the pilot. And we also have some more flexibility in terms of the budget that you would apply for. Before we said that it should be around 1 to 1.5 million euros. It can indeed be less. You just have to make a good plan and state why the exact budget that you are applying for makes sense in your case. So I would not encourage you to apply for 30,000 euros. We're not selecting that many pilots with that low amount of budget. But if you apply for, let's say, 700,000 euros, that can be possible. And if we get a lot of applications with a lower budget than 1 million euros, then it's possible that we will select more than 10 to 12 pilots. Then we might select 15 or something like that. So this is a bit of news in that regard. And what we have also set up are various emails of how to get in touch with us. So first of all, we have a help desk at DSYS which is kind of support for the application phase. So if you have questions in regard to the requirements or the documents or how to submit or anything like that, feel free to write to that email, and you will get support from one of us in the consortium. We also opened an email called Apply. So this is where you will send your application. we opted not to go for an application form online, but chose to have an email so that you can work on your documents together with your team and consortia, and then send it to us once it has been finalized. So if you are selected as a pilot, then we also have an email address that you can write to for support. So that's the one called support, number 3. And as I said, that's for the selected pilots. So please do not use that one instead of number 1 if you need help for the application. The 3 emails that I mentioned now, they will open once the calls open. So please do not use them yet, because you will not get a reply just yet. But if you have any questions, you can also write to the stakeholder email, and then you will, if it's something regarding the stakeholder forum or something more in general, then you can get in touch with us through that email. And then I just wanted to mention that we have a big upcoming event in June in Rotterdam, and that's the OASC Summit, the annual summit. And the theme of the year is connecting local digital ecosystems through interoperability. And we will have several sessions, the project at this summit. It was a great event, the conference that was held in January. And this summit will take place right after we launch the calls. So there will be a lot of new information here, and you get to meet various members of the consortia as well, and other interested parties and applicants at this conference. So it's definitely the place to be. So I hope to see many of you there. And then I just have one final reminder that all the info sessions and the stakeholder forums that we have had have been recorded, and you can find them online. So we had the info session in November last year, and all the stakeholder forums. And then there's also actually some lessons from a preparatory action, where they go through the broader picture, and then the technical blueprint and the governance scheme. So there's a lot of information to find there. And also, of course, on our website, you can find the Data Cooperation Canvas website, the Data Space Support Center website. And then you can also find the latest staff working document on data spaces, which was released in January this year, with some new information as well. So please stay tuned also for all of that if you have any questions or need any information at all. And that's it for me now. I know that we have a very interesting program, but I will allow a few questions if there are any. Otherwise, I think we can get straight to the team presentations. No? Everything was clear? That's good. Okay. Otherwise, I will be here, and you can just post questions in the chat also.
Great. Thank you, Elizabeth, for all the information shared. And indeed, a big shout out to the OASC event in June. We'll all be there, so hope to see you all there. And then we can already start with today's content. So first, we will review the eligibility criteria. So as said, it would be wise to just think about, like, are you actually eligible? Should you really go into this application process? And now we are going to review some of these aspects. And these are the aspects that you will also be evaluated against. So let's dive right into it. Can you just confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Thank you. Okay, so I will be presenting together with my colleague Clara this information. But let's just start from the beginning. So let's not forget what is the aim of this project. And that is obviously to actually have a database space which will follow that the work that has been done in the preparatory action. And this is that there is a common set of essential tools, services, and support and require documentation for that, and that has to actually also refer to the preparatory action. Your project should also support the federation of data spaces at all and digital platforms at all levels, so meaning local, regional, and national, that will actually finally be able to also be onboarded into the European data space itself. And also a quick reminder that your pilot case should be cross-sectorial on the one hand. So it means that you have to tap into at least two sectors or domains, as you would like to call it. And while you are not required to create a use case that makes cross-border data sharing, obviously you can always do that if that's what you want to do with your use case. And again, your data space can be at a local, regional, or national level. Now, the eligibility criteria is divided into 4 topics. So we will go through the legal, the financial, the technical, and the ethical aspects of eligibility. So let's just start with the legal part. Again, hopefully no new information is coming here, but we will repeat again what has already been mentioned. So you are required, your mini consortium is required to have at least 2 local administrations from 2 different eligible countries. This means that the eligible countries are European member states, or those associated with the member states, or with the Digital Euro program associated countries. All entities are subject to the provisions of Article 12.6, which means that in the application form you are not required yet to declare an ownership and control document, but you are self-declaring it. So if you suggested it there, we will follow up on it if you are the winning consortium. Organization can be a lead partner only once, and at once they can only apply once as a lead partner. So it means that if there is open call number 1, you would like to be a lead partner, go ahead, but you cannot do it for 3 different consortiums. However, if you do not win the next time, you can do it. If you win, then please don't do it. And then, of course, just to ensure fair competition here, we from the consortium are not able to join any of the mini consortias, so the pilots, and we are also forbidden from providing information other than in these open and transparent meetings. Let's move on to the financial aspects. So you are expected to cover at least 50% of the pilot budget. Of course, it can be more. But the support that you request cannot be more than 1.5 million and not more than 1 million per entity. Double funding is also not permitted, which we also refer to often as synergy funding. So it means that if you would like to, for example, you had the idea to combine it with mobility data space or another data space project, you cannot pull together the funds there. And you should also make sure that your pilot described clearly states that it will be within the timeline described in the open call itself. And then I would like to give the word to Clara.
Hello, thank you, Sophie. Yes, as Sophie said, one of the technical aspects that we are going to consider for the eligibility criteria will be the composition of the pilot itself. As she said, it's mandatory to be cross-sectorial. That means that the use case that you are using for demonstrating the data sharing in your data space must be considered at least 2 stakeholders, 2 data providers from 2 different domains. And then the use case should also develop a service that could be that will be using this shared data for at least the final one final user. In this way, this is somehow the minimal size of the pilot could be having at least 2 data providers sharing data from 2 different sectors, if possible, also cross-border, but as she said, it's not mandatory, and providing one service, added value services for at least one final user. In terms of the maturity, the digital maturity of the applicant, it's needed that you already have in place a kind of data platform, digital twin, or some emerging data space. That means some digital infrastructure already in the city or in the community, where you are already collecting, ingesting, and integrating the data somehow by using any of these elements. So one of the questions was about if Lordima's digital assessment is needed. It's not mandatory for the application, but during the execution, we will be measuring or documenting this maturity using this mean. But for the application, it's not needed. It's just for you to describe which is the data platform, digital twin, or incipient data space you are already in place in your community. Another criteria for your eligibility is to be compliant at least with Min 1 and Min 2. This means that you are using kind of common data models and common exchange API in order to exchange and to share data in your community. And it's recommended to follow the standards and reference implementations that are mentioned in the reference architecture. You will be also requested to map your current digital solution into the taxonomy of building blocks that are described in the catalog of specifications in the blueprint of the data space, in order to show that you are more or less covering the functionality that is requested as a capability in a data space. Then also in the application form, you will see that are requested to elaborate on the plan for incorporate or integrate with the required components that are mentioned in the reference architecture. So as a minimal set of components are these 3 ones. So on one side, you will have to integrate in your identity management system an authorization policies store, following the standards on verifiable credentials. Of course, you can have your own identity management system, but at least needs to be compliant with this standard, and needs to be deployed in your pilot. So you can reuse some existing authorization policies store implementation, but needs to be integrated in your identity system. Because you need to connect to the Universal Trust Data Registry that will be provided by the data space based on the role-based access control, and you will be integrating your credentials into this registry. And finally, also you will need to describe your data services or offerings using the CAT standard, the CAT specifications, in order to be able to be published and discovered through the federated catalog that will be provided also by the data space. So, Sophie, if you go to the next slide, just to give you an overview of what we are talking about. Here is just a simple sketch about how we are figuring out the data space for smart communities in Europe. So in the central part, you see the elements or resources that will be provided by the data space. As I said, this Universal Trust Data Registry will be a kind of registry for all the credentials in order to be able to access to different data in different pilots and monitoring the access to this data. Then there will be also federated catalog where the data and services that will be shared across different pilots and data spaces will be provided. And from the data space, we will also provide the guidelines for the governance schema that can be reused by any of the data spaces. And as a tool, the data cooperation canvas that will be used during the pilot execution in order to profile your pilot and monitoring the pilot during the execution. So you can see that in this picture, this is a possible, let's say, topology for the data space. You can see on the left side one possible pilot with two cities, for example, that already have in place a data platform. And in green, you can see the components that are somehow needed to be deployed or integrated from the pilots with regards to the data space. So you see the authorization policies stored as an extension of the identity management system, and how the Universal Trust Data Registry can be kind of federated entity as well, because each data space can also provide their own Universal Trust Data Registry. And yeah, this is basically how we are envisaging the deployment of the data space. Of course, this dark blue part is a kind of centralized part of the data space, and around this data space will be a kind of federated, a kind of federation of different data spaces, depending if the pilots are bringing local, national, or regional data spaces to the European data space. So I think this is all for now on my side.
Thank you, Clara. So then let's move on to the final aspect, which is the ethical aspect that you have to self-declare also in the application form. Basically, the way it's going to look like is that you are going to be given a tool to self-assess yourself, and based on that criteria, you will be able to provide input in the actual application form. It's going to be, of course, as you can, I think, as one can expect, it's about privacy issues and interoperative transparency, and how you can declare that you will remain ethical in your process. Okay, and this brings us to the end of the first presentation, which is about eligibility, and we can move to the Miro board. I will share it with you. You should be able to access it. Just give me 1 second until it loads. Okay. You can see my connection is super good today. And Absiern, it will be the recording of this event will be made available, and so will all the presentation will be made available. So now, if you go into the chat, you are able to log into hopefully into the Miro board, and I invite you to come to the first frame. There is a way to bring everyone to me. Okay, I see 17 people are already there. Essentially, again, everything that we described should be familiar to you to some extent. If not, that's also fine. But we also listed an overview of the information we just presented on this frame. again in the 4 aspects, so legal, financial, and technical and ethical. And we invite you to post your questions, and also feel free to unmute yourself. For example, we had already the questions about if Lordi Mass is, for example, a requirement or not. And also I see now from Luisa a question in terms of eligibility. Can a natural person present an application, or it has to be an organization? Okay, should I take it, or Elizabeth, you want to? Not okay. So since you are part of a mini consortium, you have to be a legal entity, and that has to be an organization. Okay, then did we have any other questions regarding what was presented now? Luisa, we covered the accepted proofs of maturity. I hope that was clear. If not, please feel free to submit. Okay, let's answer this. How to give proof of digitalization level? Clara or Timo?
Well, I think that it's a matter to describe in the application form the existing digital solution you have in the community or in the city. Of course, if you want voluntarily accompanying this with this Lord demand assessment, it's welcome. It's not mandatory, but it's welcome. But well, it's a matter to describe this solution in the application form. And if you have any link or any online, let's say, demonstration of that, you can include it. I don't know if Timo would like to add something.
Okay. Well, I feel like no one has raised the hand or unmuted themselves, and we can also, of course, while we move on, you can use this part of the Miro to post your questions. I will be monitoring it so we can get back to it. But now we can then move on to the application form itself. I'm sorry, I also see Irene, you also post the question, only cities can apply, right? Or can we also as a company apply as long as there are 2 cities in our consortium? It's the latter. So indeed, you have to have a minimum of 2 communities, local administrations, but you can have an additional organization. So it can be a research organization, it can be a company, it can be a civil society organization. So indeed, that is up to you how you organize yourself, but also be aware of that just because you have more applicants, it doesn't mean that you can apply for, like the funding is capped at 1.5 million. All right, then I would invite my colleague Henry to come online and share his screen. As we move on, you can already use the second frame to post your questions if you want, or of course use the chat. Thank you.
So hello from my side. I hope you can hear me all right. And just a second, I will start sharing the presentation. Okay, can you see the presentation? Excellent. So yes, I would encourage you already to post your questions in the Miro board that you probably have open in the background. So when I go through the presentation, and if something is unclear, you can write there. And I will do it in a way that first we will go through the slides, and you will understand the structure of the proposal. But then I will actually scroll through briefly through the actual draft document that you will be filling out, so it maybe gives you a better understanding what has to be filled. And with this, let's get started. So the application process itself looks like this. So we will be putting up a applicant document package on our website, where you can download it. The first step would be to fill in the ethics and data protection self-assessment. And this is not part of the application itself. So this you will not submit in the end, but there are questions in the application form that are based on the answers that you give here. So after this, you can fill in the application template, the budget template. You have to collect the signed letters of commitments, and then bundle the documents together and send them to the email address apply@ds4sscc.eu. Okay, so let's move on. So as mentioned, the ethics and data protection self-assessment is not part of the application, so you will not submit this. It is a preliminary assessment, but it is required for you to follow it. And when you are selected to the funding phase, it is necessary for you to fill in a full data management and ethics document, and probably this self-assessment will help you on doing this as well. So the application form itself consists of 5 parts. It is a Word document, and this we expect you to submit via email in the end. The first part is pilot details. So who are applying, where are the pilots happening, members' roles, what are the other stakeholders engaged, what is the expected budget and duration of the pilot. Second part is relevance. So here we want to see strong correlation with our project's goals, alignment with policies. How is it politically supported, and that it is cross-cutting in a sense of domains and also cross-border. On the third part, this is the implementation part, how the pilot will be done. So coordination and management, what are the work packages and activities under these. Also, budget will be considered under this, and alignment with ethical principles, of course. So the fourth is impact. So here it's you need to describe the outputs, outcomes, and impact. There is a description of each of these as well in the application template. So we can briefly see these afterwards. And the last part is declarations. So first of all, the ownership control declaration. So at the application phase, you have to self-declare, but if you get selected, then you have 30 days to fill in the full document, and there's a link below where you can download the template. There is the declaration of that there are no other EU-funded programs that would match the activities, and if there is a possibility to describe them, and there is an ethics declaration to follow the ethics and GDPR regulations. Just a few comments about the budget documentation. So as said, it will be a separate Excel document. The eligible costs are personnel costs, subtracted costs, purchase costs, and indirect costs are calculated as 7% of all of the above mentioned costs, also including subcontracting costs, which differs from some of the other applications. And this is the Excel document is also one of the documents you have to submit via email. Letters of commitment, they are Word documents that have to be filled by you and signed by the local administrations. So it's important for us or to declare that the local administration support the pilot and are willing to participate in it. And also this document proves co-financing intentions. So it's necessary for local administrations and any other organization in the consortium that will be covering its own funding part. Just to once again go over the document bundle that needs to be submitted. So it's the Word budget template. In the end, of course, please convert it into a PDF. Sorry, the application form convert into PDF. Budget template, please leave it in the Excel. And letters of commitment that should be also converted into a PDF. And okay, so this is the slides. I will quickly hop on to the draft template. So Sophie, if you can see that if there are any questions coming up to the Miro board, then let me know.
Ready? It said, can we base our application on the results from other Horizon projects? I honestly, I would like to I think for us to be able to answer this question, we would need a bit of elaboration on this question, I think.
Yes.
Like, is this an ongoing project, or the project is over? I don't know who was the person who posted this question, but if you would like to unmute yourself, then please.
Yes, it's Asbjørn here from Alural consortium. So we have some pilots there which we could like to migrate into the data spaces. So that's because when we have pilot already.
Sorry, Asbjørn, you have an echo, so it's very difficult to hear what you're saying. I don't know if you can.
Okay. Can my colleague Fleming respond?
It's just a bit strange.
I think you logged in on 2 accounts, Asbjørn.
Yes.
Maybe you have to mute one of them.
Yes, I have muted the computer.
Okay, but I mean, I try to understand basically what you said is like you have results from another Horizon project and you would like to migrate those results into the application. But is the project over, the Horizon project?
Yes.
Okay, and so basically your application would not receive funding from that Horizon project. It's only basically it's a way to sustain the results of that project, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Then let me just comment that yes, you could do that, just as long as it's based on results and not an ongoing project. But indeed, it would make a lot of sense to elaborate on those results. So it could make a quite strong case. So yeah, go for it.
Okay. And we did have one more question for Clara, a technical one. Do technical okay, I think that's okay. Do the technical vendors who will implement the solution have to be part of the application consortium?
I was trying to reply in the Miro, but I don't know what happened. That is frozen for me, and I cannot do anything on the Miro. Okay, so yeah, well, I mean, there is no any limitation about who can be part of the pilot. There is a minimal number of essential, let's say, partners or stakeholders in the pilot. But of course, if you can bring any of the technical providers that are supporting technically the pilot, they can join the consortiums. I mean, it's not a must; it's an option that you have if you want to get them on board. So I don't think there is any limitation on having them in the pilot.
Okay, thank you, Aurélie Legrand speaking. Thank you for your answer. I was just wondering if they had to be selected before the application, or they could be selected afterwards.
Well, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Elizabeth, but I don't know. Well, of course, if they want to take directly funding from the pilot, they should be part from the part of the consortium in the application form. I don't know if you can perhaps subcontract them later on, or I don't know if financially this is feasible.
I think this actually goes towards Henry then, regarding, like, for example, how subcontracting works, or we expect to work.
Yeah, perhaps the question is, do you need to declare the subcontracting at the application time, or can you do the subcontracting later on if you decided to do it later?
Subcontracting should be described at the application time.
Okay.
I don't have an answer at the moment how easy it will be to change between cost categories after the funding decision, or in the midway of the project. Probably a good question to also work out within our working group. But yeah, so there is a section for subcontracting already in the budget template. So you should fill this out already in the beginning.
Yeah, I can just compliment you, Henry, that subcontracting shouldn't be a very large proportion of your budget, and you can change them on the categories, but only if the amount is not too large. So at the application stage, you should be fairly precise about what to use, but of course you can specify this a little bit later on.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and Henry, I think you can move on to.
Yes.
No, there is a Siren is asking, what does too large mean? What percentage of the overall funding?
We did not, and probably will not, give you a percentage, but it has to make sense of the project and piloting activities. So it will be assessed by the evaluation committee.
Sophie, perhaps there is another question about what do we mean by sectors or domains in the cross-domain feature of the pilot. Well, here we are referring, for example, that in the use case you are defining, you should combine data coming from two different domains in the city. For example, combining energy data with mobility data. So here we are talking about the two different sectors, the one that is coming from utilities in the city and the one that is coming from the mobility providers in the city. So if your use case is combining or sharing data across these stakeholders, we are talking about two different sectors or cross-domain use case.
Thank you, Clara. There is one more question for you, Henry, from Gaber. Are sole proprietor costs part of personal costs or subcontracting costs?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Are sole proprietor costs part of personal costs or subcontracting costs? Perhaps, Gaber, you can elaborate, maybe just to clarify the question, that we understand it.
Yes. So basically, sole proprietor is a special legal form, which is not a company, but it represents an individual. So the question is this subcontracting or part of the personal costs?
If they are part of the consortium, it is a person cost. If they are not part of the consortium, it's a service or a subcontracting cost. If I understood the question correctly now.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any more questions right now? Open floor. Oh, I see one. Wait, sorry, I just have to go there. What sources of co-financing are possible?
So we expect direct financing from the applicants.
So it means that you have a consortium and the different members of the consortium can put in different amounts of money, but in total it should match or be beyond what you are requesting as a co-funding from the actual.
Other consortium members can cover for other members. But yeah, so your costs will be eligible in the amount that you are able to bring in the co-financing.
Okay, then I think we can see the actual application format.
Okay, so I'm just slowly started to scrolling already, but so this is the first part. So we expect the descriptions of the participants, roles and members of the consortium, stakeholders. So here is just a statement of the grant allocation request. So we do expect the grants to be either 1 million or 1.5 million euro. But if well justified, it can be pretty much any other sum up to 1.5 million euros if it's justified. The duration of the pilot. So as Elizabeth said before, that the duration is 18 months for rounds 1 and 2, and 16 months for the round 3. So we have the section 2, which is relevance. So we will so here is this description of the pilot, description of the reference architecture. So how the blueprint can be validated based on the pilot. What are the current digital platforms involved, infrastructure, and data spaces building blocks of the pilot. So how the components described are incorporated into the pilot, and what kind of data sets and what kind of from what domains will be used. And then we have the policies alignment section. So how they are aligned with EU or national or regional strategies. So bring out links. And yeah, transferability of the pilot activities beyond the pilot sites and also the pilot duration. And how is the pilot politically endorsed? And if there are any additional stakeholders, you can bring them out, or you should bring them out here. Okay. So the cross-cutting considerations. So how do you plan to bring in these cross sectors and also the ethics requirements? Yeah. So, and the third part is the implementation part, the coordination management description, work plans. So we have the work package under the deliverables and activities that will be done under each work package. So here's the budget and resource allocation. So we have a separate Excel file for you to fill, and this is just the the cost categories description and the calculation of indirect costs and the eligible cost and the reimbursement rate. So this is the 3.4 question, which will be answered by or can be answered after filling in the ethics self-assessment questionnaire. Fourth section of the pilot's impact. So we have a table where you can fill in impacts and outcomes. And so we have the description of outputs, outcomes and impact under here. So you can check what are meant here. And yeah, lastly, the pilot activities indirect impact. So longer period change in the community. And the last and final section, the commitments and declarations. So we have the OCD declaration here, other EU-funded programs goal declaration. And so if there are, and if you have some doubt, you can describe them here. And we have the ethics declaration. Under here, I have actually so the ethics and data protection self-management. So this is where the application form itself ends. But just as a reference, there is the questions you can see here. Although I must say it's fairly long, so maybe I wouldn't spend too much time. And we do make this document available after today's meeting as well, so you can check and ask additional questions about this application and this part as well. So I'm ready to check the Miro board.
Rasmus had a question. If you get brownie points for using the pilot to build up data infrastructure to be used after the pilot, or is it the sorry, it's just or is the focus on testing the blueprint? I think it's Clara for if you
Yeah, Clara, please feel free. Otherwise, I would say yes.
Yes. I was just finding the unmute. Yes, the purpose is double. On one side is to validate and test the current blueprint in order to work on the evolution as well for the future data space deployment. And on the other hand, also to showcase that through this implementation of the blueprint, we are able to share data using the use case that you are proposing in the pilot. So it's a twofold objective here.
And in the meantime, also Tristan asked a question about if financing can come from private companies. If I remember correctly, that was the question. I just can't find it now. Yes, well, okay, I can't find it, but I remember that it was a question, and Elizabeth did answer the question in the chat already. But just to complement what was said, that just make sure that that what is foreseen, that it has to be declared that the money comes from the company and that company is overseen by European entities. Then we have a question from Thomas. Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to ask a question.
Yes. Hi, good morning still. Yeah, I was just wondering, is it okay if the pilot project complements and maybe even builds upon other EU-funded projects that might be related to the Cityverse or Open Urban Platform? Yeah, that was the question. Really.
Yes, I just replied in the chat as well that yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Just mind you again that it's one thing to tap into the resources, like, so I mean, not financial resources, but rather the knowledge that they share. But the double funding is not option. It's not an option. And then we had one other question from Alma. Do you intend to set up a partner search tool for the purpose? Alma, could you clarify? You mean the partner search for finding pilot partners? If it's yes, okay. Well, we did have a matchmaking session in September. Otherwise, it is not foreseen strictly in our project description or expectations. However, we hope that you can use the chat here to get to know each other. Also, occasionally, we also try to save the time for potential applicants to also share their potential use cases and announce if they have any interest to be matched with someone or are looking for specific partners. But as a matchmaking session separately, currently we do not foresee it. Okay. Then I think we can move on to the last presentation by Anneki.
Yes, and
Okay.
just to mention that we will also have an info sessions coming when the call will be open, that then you can also use the chat to find your pilot partners there. But I will share the screen now.
And that will be the third frame where you can post questions regarding Anniki's presentation.
Yes. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. My presentation kind of repeats what is already said today, but it gives us the perspective of the evaluation and the evaluators and how it works. So after we receive your applications, then as mentioned, then there will be a pre-screening done by the members of our consortium, and using this eligibility check read. After that, if you pass eligibility check, then your application will be forwarded to experts. We of course, look what are the domains provided in the application and try to fit it with concrete experts. And all these experts individually will evaluate your application and propose the scores based on the evaluation structure. And after individual evaluation, then there will be also consensus groups to avoid that there will be different points or like a really high variation of points given by different experts, just to find the common ground and maybe to talk through some things that are noticed from the application. When we receive the points, then there will be a selection committee who will review the results and put together the final ranking list. Then from this list, we will select applicant or the winning consortia, and of course, based on how many applications we will select from each submission round. After the application round closes and the evaluation is done, we will notify all the applicants. Either it will be the negative or positive response. Then you will receive email. And of course, as Sophie mentioned, we also kindly request you to fill in the feedback questionnaire. Then if you proceed with your successful application, then you will go through additional financial and legal check. And within 30 days after you being selected, you also have to submit this owner declaration, like control declaration. And if it is also successful, then you will go into this negotiation phase and start to prepare the grant agreement with the funding or consortium member responsible for the funding. Then, after that, if we further proceed, then you will be handed over to the pilot support team, which will provide you all the necessary information needed for you to prepare and get ready for testing and building up your work. So, and first, just to go through again that the eligibility check will be easily either you pass it or you fail, but make sure that you will use all the forms that we have provided. After that, please make sure that you provide all the necessary information that is requested. We evaluate all the submissions that will be on time and respect character and page limits. When we check legal aspects, then of course, one of the things is the application form, where we see if you declare everything which is needed. And also you have to provide the letters of commitment. So, and we also cross-check the applications to see whether there are no more than one application submitted by the lead applicant. And after that, financial check will be done by using budget template. And we look that you have to provide at least 50% of co-financing. Also, you have to make sure that you are not requesting more than 1.5 million, and one partner cannot have more than 1 million of the total budget. And also, you have to declare that there is no double funding. Application form also is used to understand what is the technical level of your proposal, and you have to describe your cross-sectorial use case. You have to describe that you fill in the minimal technical requirements and you are mature enough, for example, having this existing platform, data space, or digital twin in your community or communities. And finally, ethical check, as already mentioned, that you have to fill it in and provide answers in the application form and self-declare that you are following and being ethical throughout the process. And for after passing the eligibility check, then we will evaluate based on the content, and the experts will be looking relevance, implementation, and impact categories. First, the relevance. We are expecting you to align with Digital Europe objectives, and and they also that other initiatives that are going on. Then, of course, you have to contribute to long-term policy objectives and policies and strategies, and to make it sure that it's still suitable. Then implementation. We are expecting you to be mature enough. Your solution that you are planning to implement is starting not from the scratch, but you already have something in place. Your application have to make sense, and you have to be able to really do what you promise, and you have to have like the consortium together, which is filling in all the relevant capacities, and you have to align with ethical principles. And finally, impact. Then you have to make sure that you are still addressing all these different impact aspects as well. So to make it sure that you are contributing especially to enrich the European data space of smart communities. And how we evaluate your applications, or experts will evaluate your application, is that you have to receive at least 3 points out of 5 from each category, but from one category you have to receive at least 4 to be successful. So that is all from my side, and we have my report again, and if we have any questions from the chat, then we can.
So I see Ron has a question. I don't know if Ron, you want to unmute yourself and come online? Otherwise, the question was, can the data intermediary who will... no, there is Ron. Go for it.
Sorry, I have to unmute myself. Yes, I heard that the question on the participation of financial participation of companies. And I was thinking, like, if these companies are looking, are seeing this as an investment, where they can that they can use long term for commercial goals, and being part of setting up a data intermediary for the data space, is this allowed? Because I think that the Data Governance Act tells us something about not-for-profit goals for data intermediaries.
Yes, so besides from the answer from Clara, it is allowed. Of course, everyone needs to also be aware of the state aid rules, and it's also up to the individual data spaces to decide. But we urge for the non-profit, but it is allowed to have the commercial goals as well.
But is it a part of the assessment that the data intermediary will be not-for-profit on the long term?
Henry, maybe you can comment. To my knowledge, is not.
Sorry?
I just asked if Henry can comment, and I said, to my knowledge, it's not.
Okay.
So, I missed the beginning of the question.
the question is if companies can participate in a pilot and seeing this as seeing their financial attribution as an investment that they long term can be a commercial partner in the data intermediary, or and that the data intermediary can have commercial goals on long term. Is this allowed? Or is this allowed? The one thing, and the other question is like, will it be tested in the during the process that the data intermediary will have not-for-profit goals?
Yeah, and for the first part of the question, I answered yes, it is allowed. And then the question I directed to him is if it's part of the application process to make this assessment.
So there is a section to describe the pilot's sustainability beyond the timeline and the financing of the actual the particular pilot activities. So yes, this could be described in the application form.
But is it necessary to describe it?
It doesn't have to be declared. If I understand it correctly, that's the question.
Yeah, so the expectation is for the pilots to be sustainable beyond the direct scope of the funding. So in that sense, yes.
Maybe if I can give a suggestion about the question about data intermediaries and profit. So, okay, as part of any project of this type, you cannot make profit as a company. So the project covers your cost, right? And about data intermediaries and the data management act, so that's European legislation. It's beyond us. So you of course have to adhere to all legislation that's in place. As we are not going to check if you park on the opposite side of the road where it's forbidden. I mean, you have to keep to the rules. We are not going to check anything regarding to the Data Management Act. I hope that answers a bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Sila is right. It's right anyway. What she wrote now in the chat, I think that there is now this for that you cannot make profit as data intermediary from services on top of data. So that's one of the requirements from the Data Management Act. But that's another story, not related to this core.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more questions? Because now we came to the end of all the presentations, so now you have heard all the information. There's a lot to digest and a lot more to come. For the participant who asked if this draft application form will be shared, it will be shared alongside with all the presentations and recording with all members of the Stakeholder Forum. I will send a follow-up email with all the content so that you can revisit everything. We will leave the Miro board open, although I did lock all the questions, for you to post any other follow-up questions until the end of the week, so we can check it and come back to you if there is something more you would like to add. But right now the floor is open to anyone who would like to announce anything or ask anything or would like to just say hi. Any inquiries are welcome. We will wait just a little bit to see if anyone has anything to share. Because if not, then I think We will finish earlier today than expected, which is good. I hope it's because everything was clear and you are all ready and eager to start the application process. See any more questions in the chat? No, anything on the Miro board? I can't see. Right. In that case, Elizabeth, are there any final words you would like to say today or share with us today?
I just wanted to ask you, Sophie, so we made a document a while back for the purpose of matchmaking. I believe that document is still live, so maybe we could just share the link for those who would like to, maybe Anarchy has it or Sophie. Remember we made in the Google Drive.
That's true. It's accessible to all stakeholders. It's in the folders that I share with you regularly. It will be shared with you again, and then I will make a specific mention to the matchmaking file, but let me just share it in the chat again. Indeed, that's a good idea. Give me one second.
Perfect, because then you will be able to find others who would be interested in joining a consortium. You can find new partners or projects to participate in potentially. And then another good place to do that would also be at the OSC Summit in June. I know that during the conference there was in January, there were a lot of people who wanted to know more and wanted to join pilot consortia. So it's a great way to meet the others who wants to be involved in this. And then I wanted to thank you for your attention today. I know we gave a lot of new information, and of course the website will be updated with this information as well. And we'll share all the documents that we went through today. It's important for me to emphasize that we have put a big disclaimer on all the documents. These are not the official ones yet, but our best guess as to what they will look like once we launch the open calls. Of course, we don't expect to make major changes, but it's for you to know that the disclaimer has been put on all of this. And stay tuned for more. I know that for the next stakeholder forum, the focus will be on impact assessment. So that's also a big part of the application. So that's going to be a very interesting point. So maybe not. But otherwise, feel free to ask questions before we close off this stakeholder forum meeting. Otherwise, thanks to all of you and for the consortium for participating today.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And maybe just to complement that, the stakeholders at ds4ssec.eu is already open for questions. If you have anything to say or would like to contact us, you can catch us there. All right. And I also share the link for the matchmaking live document. Please know that if you put your details there, it will be visible to the stakeholders who enter this. Thank you very much then for everyone who presented today and everyone who contributed today and for all the questions and for attending and participating. And we'll see you in probably a month's time. I will send out the invitation and I will follow up with all the content as per usual. And I wish you a nice week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.